Kevin Delaney here, and I'm with a friend of mine. Don't mind him, he's just going to listen quietly, I'm sure. I wanted to say a few things here on the topic of mental emotional state. Now, I did a video just a little while ago where I was talking about what I call state amnesia. And this is when a person is in an unresourceful or unhelpful or disempowering kind of mental emotional state. Their tendency oftentimes to forget what it's like even to be in a better state. So I thought rather than rehashing that whole topic, I wanted to just say a few words about state in general. What do we mean when we talk about state, mental emotional state here? And I wanted to give 4 very crucial things to understand about state, about your mental and emotional state. The first is you are always in one. You are always in some kind of a state. You're always in some mental emotional state. That's probably the most basic thing that you can say. At all times, you are always in a state. Now, we can subdivide that, of course, into different kinds of states. In fact, there's probably an infinite number of individual states that you could experience, different kinds of states. Again, it's mental, emotional, so it pertains to your mood, it pertains to how you're feeling, it pertains to how you're thinking, it pertains to your overall level, you might say, of positivity versus defeatism. And we've all experienced this, of course. We've all experienced being in really, really good states of mind. It just felt like you could do no wrong, like you were just cooking, like everything just was going well for you. You were coming up with great ideas. You felt alive. You felt empowered. And we've also, of course, had experiences in our lives when we didn't feel that way. And it's more than just feeling tired or feeling physically ill. Feeling down, really kind of feeling depressed, feeling dejected, feeling like what's the use, feeling like why bother, nothing really matters, to quote that Queen song, Bohemian Rhapsody. And of course, there are all kinds of gradations to this. There's all kinds of, different facets and different specific types of ways of feeling and whatnot, and ways of thinking. It's not always just one or the other. It's not a binary kind of thing. But that's the basic fact that you need to understand, which is that at all times you are in a state. You're in some kind of mental emotional state. The second point is, and I wrote these down because I don't want to forget them, your state is always evolving. Your state is always changing. Now, this is a very crucial point to understand, particularly when we get to the 4th point. But for right now, understand that your state is never a fixed thing. It's never set in concrete. And again, this pertains to what I was talking about earlier. When you are in oftentimes a disempowering state or a negative state or an unresourceful state, you can feel almost like you're mired in concrete and you feel like you'll never get out of it. And this, of course, is unfortunately often the case with people who are feeling very, very dejected, and even to the point where they're feeling suicidal. They feel like this, almost like this is my permanent way of being and I'll never get out of this. And of course, you will. You will get out of it, simply because your state is constantly evolving and changing anyway. And many, many people have felt unbelievably dejected and feeling like what's the point in even living? And then instead of doing something drastic, they go to bed, they wake up in the morning and they're thinking, why did I think everything was so bad? It doesn't seem as bad now. It's not to say that you swing from one extreme to the other necessarily, but it just doesn't seem quite as bad as it did the night before. So your state is constantly evolving and changing. Now, the 3rd point is your state evolves along a continuum. I've used the term now resourceful versus unresourceful. In just kind of more street terms, positive versus negative. I don't like to use those terms necessarily. There's nothing wrong with them, but I think it's more specific to say resourceful versus unresourceful. Empowering versus disempowering. Your state always falls somewhere along that continuum. And it's important, I think, to understand where you are at any given moment. It's important to understand, I think, what your state means for you. Is it an empowering state? Is it a disempowering state? And I think along with that, to be mindful of the materials, in effect, that you take into your mind, the things that you expose yourself to, because everything that you take into your mind has the potential to affect you, and it can either affect you in a positive way or a negative way. It can either empower you or disempower you, which leads to the fourth point, which is your state is under your conscious control, probably a lot more than you realize. Many people, in effect, are victims of state. It's like the wind blows in a different direction and their state changes. Very few people exercise a lot of really conscious control over their state. And if you think about it, this is the ultimate power, the power to affect how you're thinking, how you're feeling, literally the way that you're experiencing life, the way that you see yourself, the way that you experience yourself. And again, many people they're very passive when it comes to their state. So maybe they are feeling good on a certain day, but then they feel horrifically depressed another day. And, well, why did you feel so good this one day and so bad this other day? Who knows? Who can explain it? It's the tides, it's the phases of the moon or whatnot, or it's my horoscope or whatever. And the truth is, you have a lot more power here than you realize. This really is the meaning of personal power. The ability to change, to affect, to alter your state. Again, your way of seeing things, your way of experiencing things. So those are just a few thoughts that I wanted to share about state. I'll be talking a lot more about state. Obviously, it's a crucially important idea, and it has everything to do with your quality of life. So those are a few thoughts there of mine. You can tell me what you think. Leave a comment, and I'll talk to you later.